There had been saints in the church's history that had arrived at a state of union with God where they ceased to sin deliberately, that is, commit formal sins. And such individuals were Teresa of Avila, Saint John of the Cross, or Catherine of Siena, and so forth. These individuals, in their writings, in their revelations, realized that, or attained a state in which they realized that they stopped sinning deliberately. Now, this is called formal sins, formal sinfulness, where you cease to offend God deliberately. But material sinfulness, there's no evidence to suggest that anyone was exempt from that. The difference between formal sin and material sin is this. Formal sin is forming the intention or deliberately of violating God's commandment. Apodictic or casuistic commandments, call them what you may. That means the person is culpable of a bad action or thought. That's formal sinfulness. Saints have arrived at the point where they cease to do this altogether. Material sinfulness, on the other hand, is committing externally, objectively, an action that does not conform with God's commandments, despite your intention. So if I have the best intentions to do something right, but do something wrong objectively without having any bad intention, that's called material sinfulness, which in God's eyes is not sin really at all. But the action, you see, is materially sinful. For example, I'm going on a pilgrimage on let's say a cruise liner, and someone's walking along the edge of our child is walking along the edge of the deck and is running the risk of falling into the water. So out of concern, I rush over to the child and go to grab it, but instead accidentally push it or trip and bump into the child and it falls in the water. Well, I committed an act of sinfulness, objectively speaking. I pushed the child in the water who may drown. Was my intention to do that? No. But the action was. So if I go to the court in the civil system, I'm found guilty unless I can prove otherwise, right? Well, God is not like that. But the reason I wanted to emphasize that is to show you the distinction in the moral terms of material sinfulness, the action itself, which may be considered sinful objectively, and the intention behind it. Acting with a bad intention is formal sinfulness. And saints have attained the point where they cease to offend God in this way, by acting without formal sinfulness.